dazzling red carpet, they appeared as perfect couples, symbols of fulfillment, admired and envied by the public. Yet, when the doors of their homes closed, what awaited these wives was an unbearably bitter reality. The man they had devoted their lives to ironically longed for the warmth of another man. From tear-stained love letters lying silently at the bottom of drawers, fleeting shadows crossing hand mirrors, to chilling late-night phone calls from police stations in the dead of winter. Today we will uncover one of the most painful hidden corners of Britain's upper class, the tragic torment of women who were unwittingly turned into the most luxurious beards in history. 1. Constance Lloyd. The tragedy of a heart forgotten beneath the shadow of genius. May 29, 1884. Today I am the most fulfilled woman in all of London. He is not merely a writer, he is truly a star. Those were the heartfelt, trembling words Constance Lloyd carefully penned on her wedding night. At the time, Oscar Wilde was captivating and radiant like a prince stepped out of a fairy tale. Every word he spoke shimmered with intellect, his gaze filled with affection, convincing Constance she had secured the heart of one of the most desired men alive. Together they welcomed 2 sons, enjoyed a life of luxury, and wove a love that seemed unshakable. Sadly, that radiant smile did not last long. Over time, Oscar began using work as an excuse to avoid intimacy. He spent weeks on end in lavish hotels, losing himself in endless parties alongside strikingly handsome young men. Constance comforted herself, believing this was simply how a genius sought artistic inspiration, and she forced herself to look the other way, until the fateful trial of 1895. The courtroom air felt suffocatingly heavy. The moment the name Lord Alfred Douglas was spoken, followed by passionate love letters read aloud by the lawyer, Constance's world shattered. She sat frozen in the gallery, her breath seemingly halted. Her fingers clenched a silk handkerchief so tightly her knuckles turned pale, trembling. He wrote these passionate words, "To another man, under our very roof." The shock struck her like a blow. Her vision blurred, her chest tightened, and she nearly fainted amid the whispers around her. The marriage she had cherished turned out to be nothing more than a beautifully painted facade. In the end, Constance was forced to flee England with her children, changing their names to escape the crushing shame. She died at the age of 40, sick and impoverished. And yet, in her final letters to friends, she still sorrowfully referred to Oscar as my very special and deeply pitiable husband. She left this world carrying a shattered love for a man who had never truly belonged to her. Constance's silence was a heartbreaking tragedy. Yet elsewhere, in another corner of the entertainment world, there were women who chose to confront the truth through an even more brutal arrangement. 2. Elsa Lanchester, A Pact in the Rain and a Perfectly Fabricated Marriage. December 1962. A fog blanketed the cemetery. Elsa Lanchester stood motionless before Charles Loughton's grave. The press hunted for every tear while the public mourned the frail widow grieving what seemed like a dreamlike 33-year marriage. But the truth behind that mourning veil took a completely different turn. Let us rewind to their wedding in 1929. Elsa and Charles were an unusual pair, yet remarkably compatible on screen. Despite knowing Charles had hidden sides, Elsa still agreed to enter a partnership marriage where love was defined by artistic harmony rather than physical passion. Together they crafted a flawless facade, a model family of high society. But some boundaries once broken change everything forever. It was a stormy night in 1930. Elsa returned home earlier than expected. The house was steeped in suffocating silence. She walked slowly forward, gently pushing open the dressing room door, and froze. Charles was kneeling on the cold floor, face-flushed tears streaming down as he sobbed. His eyes filled with panic as he looked up at her, trembling, confessing that he had just returned from a secret encounter with another man. Elsa stood there stunned. Her hand gripped the icy brass doorknob. Outside, the rain lashed mercilessly against the windows. Charles's desperate plea echoed in her ears. "Please, I swear I'll never let the public know. Please don't leave me." In that moment, Elsa understood her true role in his life. She was not truly a wife, she was simply a living facade. From that night on, Elsa buried all her personal desires for happiness. In public, she continued to smile brightly, arm in arm with her husband on the red carpet. In private, she quietly cleaned up every aftermath, tirelessly shielding Charles's true identity from Hollywood's watchful eyes. She outlived him by decades, silently carrying that dark secret until the final years of her life when she finally revealed it in her memoir. If Elsa chose to close the door on the truth to protect her husband, then for the next woman that door would be forced open in a far more bitter way. 3. Rachel Kempson. A perfect real-life performance and the bundle of letters hidden at the bottom drawer. Shining under the dazzling lights of the British stage, Rachel Kempson, an elegant and aristocratic beauty, gave her whole heart to her co-star Sir Michael Redgrave. Their love quickly blossomed, bringing 3 lovely children into the world. In the eyes of the public, they were a model family, a flawless real-life performance, without a single crack. But behind the curtain, darkness was always present. As their family life flowed peacefully, Michael began taking strange trips away from home, lasting days and stretching across Europe. Their house also frequently welcomed new guests, young male actors. The way those young men looked at Michael burned with an intensity far beyond ordinary collegial admiration. Sensitive by nature, Rachel could not fail to notice these unusual signs, yet she chose to ignore them. She deceived herself, whispering inwardly, artistic geniuses always need companions, kindred souls to nourish their emotional depths for their performances. However, no matter how meticulously a script is staged, there will always come a moment when everything slips out of orbit. It was a quiet evening when the children had fallen into deep sleep. While tidying the bedroom alone, Rachel accidentally pulled open the bottom drawer of an oak cabinet. Tucked between folds of old shirts, a bundle of handwritten letters tied with a thin string suddenly fell out. Driven by curiosity, she slowly untied the knot. The moment her eyes scanned the first lines, her legs weakened, nearly giving way. She collapsed onto the edge of the bed, her chest tightening as if she could not breathe, her heart pounding violently. Every flowing, passionate, and raw word written by her dignified husband was all meant for a young male actor. He longs for an embrace, burns for a kiss, but it will never be mine. Before tears could even fall, the survival instinct of a seasoned actress suddenly took over. Rachel bit her lip, her trembling hands carefully folding the letters back exactly as they were quietly returning them to the dark corner of the drawer. She slowly stood up, turned off the light, and gently walked out of the room, resolving to continue the heaviest role of her life, pretending she had never seen anything. The Redgrave family's performance of happiness had to go on shining brightly, despite the irreparable cracks behind it. Decades later, when Michael passed away, leaving behind countless letters and diaries exposing his double life to the public, Rachel still chose silence. She had lived her role as a devoted wife so completely, willingly closing her eyes for a lifetime that when the curtain finally fell, she seemed to have forgotten how to remove that tragic mask. Yet Rachel's mask was not the most heartbreaking of all. Not far away, there was another woman slowly burning herself alive in the illusion of a royal couple. 4. Vivien Leigh, McKinney, the tragedy of a royal couple and the tear falling on Scarlett's dress. In 1939, even as the set of Gone with the Wind was engulfed in towering flames during the fall of Atlanta scene, the true force setting the screen ablaze that year was Vivien Leigh. Transforming into a proud and radiant Scarlett O'Hara, Vivien quickly rose to become a priceless treasure of Hollywood. And the moment the blue-eyed beauty walked arm in arm with Sir Laurence Olivier into marriage, they became the royal couple commanding the power of Anglo-American cinema. It was a marriage so perfect, it felt suffocating, inspiring longing in millions. Yet the brightest light is often the perfect curtain to conceal the darkest shadows. Behind the closed doors of their luxurious estates, the great playwright Laurence Olivier, the man Vivien affectionately called Larry, quietly hid a deeply complex inner world filled with secrets involving men. Later biographies revealed numerous hidden facets of his life, exposing rumors of bisexuality that had long circulated in London theaters, pieced together from countless secret affairs difficult to define. One winter day in 1940, during an exhausting tour in America, Vivien dragged herself back to her hotel room, her body drained after hours of pouring herself into her performance. By chance, her eyes landed on an opened letter left carelessly on the dressing table. It was written by veteran actor Henry Ainley to Larry. Compelled by curiosity, she read the carefully written lines, only for her radiant smile to instantly vanish. Her heart felt as though an invisible hand was crushing it when she read the passionate, intimate words Ainley addressed to her husband. "I long to press my lips to yours once more, my dear Larry." In that instant, the world around her seemed to shatter. Vivian's delicate hands trembled uncontrollably, clutching the fragile paper until it crumpled. Tears threatened to spill, bitterness rising painfully in her throat. Yet, the moment a knock on the door announced the press waiting outside, the survival instinct of a star flared to life. She hurriedly wiped away her tears, lifted her head, with pride stepped out with a radiant smile before countless cameras, and firmly declared, "My Larry is a perfect man." That marital tragedy dragged on for years, filled with torment before ending in a tear-stained divorce. Even at the moment of her final breath, Vivian Leigh still placed Laurence Olivier's portrait on her elegant table as a testament to the love she had given to a man who had never once offered her his whole heart. From the pinnacle of glory plunging into the abyss of deception, some tears fell quietly onto the red carpet. But there were also shocks that came cold and sudden from a police notice. 5. Dorinda Stevens, The Cold Telegram from Scotland Yard. In contrast to Hollywood's dazzling glamour, the story of Dorinda Stevens and Peter Wyngarde feels like a mystery buried by time. Turning the yellowed pages of newspapers from 1951, one finds a small article about a romantic wedding on the sunlit island of Sicily. Dorinda, then a young actress eager to prove herself, was completely captivated by Peter's charm. He was known in elite circles for his flamboyant style, sharp gaze, and impeccably tailored suits. Ironically, even their marriage certificate carried doubts about its legality, as if foreshadowing the collapse of a carefully constructed illusion. Their marriage was brief, fragile, and unstable. Dorinda tried to be a supportive partner, but Peter was like a bird accustomed to flying in the dark. He became entangled in ambiguous relationships, exchanged suggestive glances with male colleagues, and frequently spent late working nights in underground clubs in London, all things Dorinda chose to ignore. Then, one day, that perfect facade was brutally torn apart in 1956. That day, London was shrouded in thick fog. Dorinda sat in her living room when the doorbell suddenly rang, delivering a cold telegram from Scotland Yard. The thin sheet of paper announced that her husband, Peter Wyngarde, had just been arrested by plainclothes police at a public bar on charges of disturbing the peace and engaging in homosexual acts. Dorinda froze the telegram, trembling in her hands with each ragged breath. Her strength seemed to drain away as she collapsed onto the velvet sofa. The ticking of a pendulum clock echoed harshly in the suffocating silence. In that moment, memories flooded back, hurried explanations, baseless arguments, whispered justifications that I have to work late for our future. All of it. Nothing more than cheap lies. That cold telegram marked the end of a marriage built on illusion. In 1956, Dorinda Stevens quietly filed for divorce. Gathering the shattered fragments of her dignity, she walked away from the noise and scandals, gradually disappearing forever from that deceitful spotlight. Truth is sometimes exposed cruelly by the hands of the police, but in the dreamy world of aristocracy, it is often hidden behind poetry and dust-covered bookshelves. 6. Vita Sackville West, A Quiet Love Beneath the Roof of Knowle House. Step through the moss-covered iron gates of Knowle House, and you enter the world of Vita Sackville West. She was not fragile or submissive. She was a proud, rebellious aristocrat with the passionate soul of a free-spirited poet. Her story with the renowned diplomat Harold Nicolson was unlike any tale of deception. It resembled a unique romantic novel of British high society. Their marriage was layered, built on rare understanding. They maintained an open marriage where both Vita and Harold quietly pursued passionate same-sex relationships outside. Vita herself caused a stir with her affairs with women. She was not blind to her husband's nature, but chose to maintain a delicate distance, allowing the truth to remain cloaked in refined silence. And then, the truth knocked. One quiet autumn afternoon, golden light filtered through the stained glass windows of their family library. Vita stood by the large window holding a cup of tea gone cold, her gaze drifting toward the Sissinghurst garden, slowly turning crimson. Suddenly, from behind the tall yew hedges, Harold's laughter rang out, familiar yet different today. It was soft, almost a whisper, laced with tenderness, the very tone he once used with her in the early days of their marriage. Vita gently pushed open the glass door and stepped outside. And then she saw them. Harold stood close beside a young man, a rising poet he had once introduced as a literary friend. The distance between them was far beyond ordinary familiarity. Harold gently brushed a strand of hair from the young man's temple, his gesture slow and full of affection. The other man looked up, his eyes shimmering with an emotion Vida recognized instantly, because she herself had once looked at Harold that way. Vida stood silently behind the hedge, feeling a hollow space open deep within her chest, as if someone had quietly taken away a part of the man she loved. Without a sound, she turned back inside, lowering herself into a chair, the tea in her hand long gone cold. And yet, Vida did not expose the truth. They understood each other's loneliness, choosing to remain companions for life. If understanding allowed Vida to preserve a lifelong companionship, then in another story, Hillary Lyon would be crushed by the very illusion of her own marriage. 7. Hillary Lyon. The whisper over the phone of a betrayer. 1985. The day we got married, the Scottish sky seemed clearer than ever. If given the chance to sit before a camera and reflect on her youth, Hillary Lyon would perhaps begin her story with a smile tinged with sorrow, like that. Unlike the classical romances of the past, her marriage to actor Alan Cumming carried the full breath of a modern era. They were a young couple full of passion, stepping into life together with a love that was pure and intense. In the early years, Alan remained reserved, concealing his bisexual identity from the world, and perhaps even from himself. Hillary loved with the unwavering trust of a devoted wife. Though at times her instincts hinted at invisible distances or unusual glances Alan cast toward male colleagues, she chose to dismiss everything, using love to fill every doubt. But love, no matter how great, cannot hide the truth forever. The fateful moment came during a vacation in Scotland in 1990. That afternoon, Hillary returned to the hotel earlier than expected. As she stepped into the quiet carpeted hallway, she suddenly stopped. From a slightly open door, Alan's voice drifted out. He was on the phone. But it was not the voice she knew. It was warm, gentle, and full of longing, whispering tender words to a man on the other end. "I miss you like crazy. I just want to hold you right now." Each word was like a blade piercing Hillary's heart. She stood frozen in the empty hallway. A cold shiver ran down her spine, her hand instinctively gripping the wooden railing until her knuckles turned white, trembling uncontrollably. All illusions of a happy family shattered in an instant, breaking into countless sharp fragments that cut deep into her soul. She realized that their entire marriage had only been a stage for Alan to rehearse before stepping into the light. Hillary quietly withdrew, making no sound, but their marriage had already ended at that very moment. By 1993, they officially separated. Hillary carried her silent wound forward while Alan Cumming gradually embraced his true self, becoming a radiant LGBTQ+ icon in Hollywood. 8. Diane Cannon. The photograph at the bottom of a suitcase, and the secret of the most charming gentleman of the century. I swear to God, I never noticed any signs. Decades after the marriage ended, actress Diane Cannon still held onto that statement whenever she spoke of Cary Grant, the ultimate symbol of elegance in Hollywood's golden age. Born in England, Cary possessed a charm that captivated the entire world. When Diane agreed to become his wife, she was only 28, while Cary was already 61. Despite their 33-year age gap, Diane believed she was the final destination of that legendary womanizer. She ignored all the whispers about a relationship beyond friendship between her husband and actor Randolph Scott that had lasted for years. In Diane's eyes, Cary was the perfect husband, a gentle father to their daughter Jennifer Grant. But the past does not always remain buried in locked drawers. One quiet night, while Cary was away, Diane was tidying the storage room when she accidentally opened an old leather suitcase from the time he had lived with Randolph Scott. Black and white photographs spilled across the floor, and as she bent down to pick them up, the smile on her lips suddenly froze. Before her were images of Cary and Randolph, intense gazes, radiant smiles, tender gestures, filled with an emotion Cary had never shown her. That was not brotherly affection. Tears fell slowly onto the old photographs, turning rumors into invisible yet fatal blades. But then the innocent presence of her young daughter Jennifer pulled her back to reality. Swallowing her pain, Diane quickly wiped away her tears, embraced her child, and comforted her with steady resolve. It's okay, my love. Your father is the most wonderful man in the world." That marriage eventually fell apart. Yet even to this day, Diane Cannon chooses to protect Cary Grant's image, holding on to that painful secret like a final emotional debt to the man she once loved deeply. 9. Angela Lansbury. The farewell letter to a love that never had time to grow. The room was shrouded in darkness, lit only by the faint glow of a bedside lamp. On the polished wooden vanity lay a neatly folded piece of paper. The first line read, "When I cannot continue walking this path with you." In 1945, Angela Lansbury, the blooming English rose of Hollywood, was only 19 years old. With a young and passionate heart, she fell in love with Richard Cromwell, an actor 15 years her senior, whose calm demeanor held a quiet allure. Their wedding happened quickly, filled with innocent dreams of a home and children. Yet, the marriage withered before it even reached 1 year. During their brief time together, Angela always felt an invisible wall between them. Richard remained gentle but distant. He avoided her gaze, his touch grew cold, and long nights found him quietly smoking on the balcony, lost in thought. Back to that fateful moment at the vanity. Angela's heart pounded as she picked up the letter. The handwriting trembled, the ink smudged as if it carried an entire internal struggle. "Angela, this is not your fault, but I cannot pretend anymore. I am gay." After reading it, her legs gave way. Angela sank into the chair, her hands trembling as they gripped the edge of the paper. There were no tears, only a cold weight spreading through her chest. Everything suddenly made sense, the distant looks, the awkwardness on their wedding night, all of it. Years later, Hollywood's elite whispered about Richard, openly acknowledging his sexuality, even becoming involved in a turbulent same-sex relationship with billionaire Howard Hughes. But Angela Lansbury never blamed him. She buried her pain, moved forward, and became a legendary figure in film and television. That love at 19 remained hidden forever, a quiet note she never spoke of again. 10. Marula Sullivan, The Night Drive, and the Buried Sentence. Sir Alec Guinness, Britain's legendary actor and Academy Award winner, always appeared as the embodiment of a perfect gentleman. Behind him stood Marula Sullivan, the devoted wife who shared 64 years of marriage. Their union seemed like an unbreakable fortress. But few knew that fortress had once been shaken by a terrifying phone call in 1946. At that time, Alec had not yet reached the peak of his fame, but whispers of his hidden side had already begun to spread. Later, through the memoirs of biographer Gary O'Connor, the public was shocked to learn about the homosexuality he had concealed throughout his life. On a freezing winter night in 1946, the silence was shattered by a call from Liverpool police. Alec Guinness had been caught soliciting men in a public restroom. Marula's entire body went rigid. The receiver slipped from her hand, swaying and emitting hollow sounds. Her heart shattered as she realized that the man she revered sought pleasure with strangers, yet not a single tear, not a word of reproach. Marula put on her coat and silently drove through the night to post bail. The drive home was heavy with suffocating silence. With extraordinary endurance, she buried that wound herself, continuing to play the role of a perfect wife for 64 years, until he carried that secret to the grave. Silent drive can last a lifetime, but sometimes a single page of a diary is enough to close a love story that once seemed immortal. 11. Vanessa Redgrave, The Pale Yellow Light and the Diary of a Man, Living in Two Worlds. Vanessa Redgrave is not merely an actress, she is a living legacy, an icon of British cinema with sharp beauty, intellect, and extraordinary talent. In the early 1960s, her marriage to the brilliant director Tony Richardson was once considered a perfect union of art. Yet behind the camera, Tony was a lost soul. It was not until 1985 that he found the courage to publicly come out as bisexual, a shocking revelation to the public at the time. But for Vanessa, that truth had existed quietly long before. One late evening in 1967, after Tony returned from a long overseas shoot, he hurriedly left again for a script meeting. In their bedroom, faintly scented with oak, Vanessa opened his suitcase to tidy up. Among crumpled scripts and unwashed clothes, her hand brushed against a small leather-bound notebook. Curiosity stirred. Under the pale yellow light of the chandelier, Vanessa flipped through the pages. At first, they were just notes about camera angles and settings, but gradually, the handwriting grew rushed, intense. They were diary entries recording burning desires, passionate nights, and a deep love Tony had for another man. Vanessa stood still in the room. The yellow light cast shadows across her pale face, reflecting her silhouette onto the silent wall. The sense of betrayal and hurt surged within her, yet strangely there was no hatred. With the heart of an artist, she understood, at least in part, the turmoil within him. That marriage ended within the same year, but Vanessa Redgrave never allowed bitterness to overshadow her. She moved forward, head held high, shining beneath the sunlight forever, a strong, unyielding woman both on and off the screen. 12. Joan. Plowright, a whisper in the night and an unspoken melody. In 1957, when young actress Joan Plowright first met Laurence Olivier, he was already a stage legend carrying the echoes of his failed marriage with Vivien Leigh. Despite the significant age gap and the rumors circulating throughout London about his complicated private life, Joan chose to enter that marriage, becoming his third wife. She never denied the rumors that Laurence was bisexual. Instead, Joan chose to love with calmness and endurance, like an anchor steadying his storm-filled soul. But knowing is one thing. Facing the truth is an entirely different pain. It was a winter night in 1970 in the Sussex countryside. Joan suddenly woke to broken sounds coming from the living room. Thinking it might be a burglar, she quickly put on a coat and quietly descended the creaking wooden stairs. As she approached the misted glass door, she stopped. Inside, only a faint pool of light from a table lamp illuminated Laurence's slightly hunched back. He sat at an old piano, his fingers gliding softly over the keys as if chasing a melody only he could hear. Then suddenly he stopped. His hands hovered midair. Laurence lowered his head, his shoulders trembling under the pale yellow light, and softly whispered the name of a man, a young actor he had directed just weeks earlier. His voice was gentle, longing, and filled with torment. Standing behind the door, Joan placed her hand on her chest, feeling her heartbeat race. And then slow. It was not anger, but a deep, hollow sadness, intertwined with an understanding for the great yet wounded man she had married. For the years that followed, Joan Plowright continued to fulfill her role as a perfect, loyal wife, silently carrying that secret until Laurence Olivier passed away. 13. Sybil Thorndike. The stage in the moment. The truth could no longer be hidden. Speaking of the West End stage in the 1920s, one cannot fail to mention Sybil Thorndike and Sir Lewis Casson, the golden couple of British theatre. They were living legends, the ideal image in the public's eyes. Their marriage seemed to flow smoothly and perfectly. Though at times, her intuition made Sybil uneasy about the close male friends always surrounding her husband, she quickly dismissed those thoughts, believing it was merely the connection between artistic souls. But the stage where the line between acting and reality becomes most fragile eventually revealed everything. One afternoon in 1938, the Old Vic Theatre was wrapped in silence during a private rehearsal. Sybil sat alone in the darkened seats, quietly watching her husband direct a new play. Lewis was guiding a young male actor through an intimate scene, but this time he did not direct with words alone. He stepped closer, took the young man's hand, and placed it against his own chest. Under the stage lights, he guided every glance, every breath, slowly, naturally, and with complete authenticity. It was that authenticity that shattered everything. A bulb sitting in the darkness, Sybil froze like a statue. Her hand clenched the script until it crumpled. A cold chill ran through her body. In that moment, she understood that Lewis was not acting. He was living the emotions he had never been able to give her. Her heartbeat thundered in her chest, forcing her to bite her lip to suppress the sob rising within her. The play ended, and Sybil quietly wrote a different script for herself, a script of silent endurance. She buried that moment deep within her memory, continuing to walk beside Lewis, both on stage and in life, until her final breath. When the perfect facade of an ideal marriage shatters, each woman chooses a different path. Some struggle in pain to break free, while others silently swallow their tears, devoting an entire lifetime to continuing a carefully staged illusion. In the end, behind the brightest lights often lie the deepest loneliness, where love is no longer salvation, but a cruel and painful contract. And you whose story moved you the most, leave a comment below to share your thoughts. And if you enjoy stories like these, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel to support me. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again in the next videos.